Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Inksplatter Vidcast. My name's Chris McQuinlan. I'm an illustrator from Melbourne, Australia. This is my latest video podcast, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and finally gotten around to do it. My original idea on doing this was I've always wanted to do a podcast that revolves around art, just me talking about art. Been meaning to do one with a friend of mine, but it sort of keeps getting put off, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do one on my own. So here I am. I'm trialing it out. I thought I'd give it a shot. This all came about to me doing this today from a post I made last night about art theft. In regards to a post that a tweet that Ryan Otley had put up, and I thought, you know what, this caused so much discussion, and that's one thing I really love to do, is create discussion. I thought this is the perfect opportunity to start these video casts and really have my opinion and get other people talking about things too. And I want to talk more about that in regards to people talking more about issues, especially in the art world. So this won't always be talking about art issues, but sometimes we'll be talking about art techniques and different art forms. Also talking to other artists. Definitely want to do some interviews down the track, or even just have guest spots. But this particular episode, to kick things off, is going to be very much so targeted around the issue of art theft. And I really want to make a point in this, that this is not a podcast, or this is not me talking about fan art. This has nothing to do with fan art at all. I will possibly bring it up at some point, but fan art will definitely not be the main issue here, and that's definitely something for another video cast. I've definitely got my own opinion about it, and I know many people do as well, and I know it's sort of been talked to death about. But this one, purely about art theft. So here I am, giving this a shot. The idea behind these is I'm probably going to do a sketch while I'm doing these videos, doing these video podcasts. Normally I would probably upload something like this to a podcast service, but at the moment I don't know of a free one, and I'm kind of poor, so I thought YouTube's probably the best way to do it, because I've already got a YouTube account, everything's free on there, and it also allows a visual, so for those who like to watch while someone's talking, or if you just want to listen to it, you can. So this all started about, like I said, last night. I put up a post about art theft in regards to a tweet that Ryan Otley had made. I'd actually seen it a couple of days ago and was kind of annoyed about it. And then someone else posted it again on my Facebook feed. And I thought, okay, no, that's it. I've got to have a say. This is enough. It's just a topic that keeps popping up constantly. Again, like fan art. But this is just such a whole other bag. And I think the reason that I got so passionate about it was because this really hits home for me, because I've been burnt pretty hard in regards to art theft. Now, as you could probably tell, I'm not the kind of guy to piss fart around and not say something. Usually I like to keep the peace when there's really no cause for it, but when it's something that not only concerns myself but so many other people, sometimes you just got to speak up and have your say, regardless of the end result. And this is what happened. And look, I'm not going to name names because it really isn't in my best interest. For those of you who actually know me, will probably know what I'm talking about here. For those of you that don't, names really don't need to come into it. But essentially what had happened was there was someone at a show who quite blatantly had stolen a Jim Lee piece. It was a Justice League piece of Jim Lee's, Not only could I tell it was Jim Lee's, but pretty much every other artist I knew it was a Jim Lee piece. So I'd had enough. This person had been doing it for a while now at other shows, and it sort of became apparent that not only was it just one piece, but it was several pieces that were stolen from other artists on the internet. Now, this person was called out. They decided to take all their stuff down off the internet, in which they had a page. So they were claiming that it was their own artwork. And I will say, before I continue on, that this artwork wasn't just a blatant ripoff. Like, they weren't just Googling it and printing it out and selling it. Which would have been way worse. Instead, what they were doing was putting it into Photoshop, adding filters and doing some fancy graphic design work over it, and selling it as their own. So, putting the two images together, you could tell that they were one and the same, but they'd changed colors, they'd changed the line art, they'd added effects, things like that. And really, and I'll be honest, it looked like a really good job. It was a really good job of someone photoshopping someone else's artwork. But that's it. If that's what they claimed they were doing, fine. That's cool. Don't try and make profit off of it. Claim that you're studying, using it as a study piece or whatever, and leave it at that. But no, they were selling, and from the looks of it, they were making a fair bit of money from it too. I don't know exactly how much, but whatever. Anyway, I had enough. They got called out. People sort of uproared on the internet. But as you probably know, as far as the internet goes, that's really as far as it went. And I thought, no, this isn't enough. This person needs to be stopped, or at least someone needs to say something about it. So I sent an email to the convention of which they were going to be at, because I was also going to be there, just as a warning to say, hey, this person is a notable art thief, please do something about it. Instead, I got an email saying, okay, cool, we'll look into it, and that was about it. And I thought, okay, well, look, I've done my piece, there's not much else I can do, that's the end of it. The show came around, I was setting up, and this person had sent one of their lackeys, of whom I did not know, so I was very naive at this point, approached me, handed me a business card, was all official and told me that they were a lawyer, and they were going to sue me for slander, and they saw what I wrote to the convention, and that I need to stop it, and also told me off because I'm a fan artist, was a fan artist at the time, and that they'll report me and blah 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 blah. Essentially just massive scare tactics. Like, this dude was a full-on bully. I have no doubt in my mind that he's probably been a horrible person all his life towards other people. So that scared the hell out of me. It made my day horrible. On top of that, I actually got extremely physically sick. I've no doubt con flu probably had a part in it, but from the stress that I was going through because of that, like, my body was literally shaking. I was literally out for a week. Like, I woke up 2 days later after the show. I woke up the next day sick. Really, really sick. The next day after that, my uvula had swollen to the size of, like, a grape. And I could barely swallow. That's how much this affected me. And people have, gone, oh, whatever happened about this thing? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. And that's why I don't want to talk about it. So the people who are like, oh, how come we don't do anything about it anymore? And I'm like, because this was not worth my health, my time. If yous were all man enough, why didn't you do something about it and actually back me up? So, anyway, enough of that. And in the end, nothing happened. This person got to do the whole show on their own. No one stopped them. They probably made hundreds of dollars. I saw Prince walking around the show, and it really pissed me off. I talked to a few people about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's crap. That's bullshit. You know, how can they let that happen? This and that, rah, rah." That was it. That was the end of it. Like, people were just whinging about it, complaining, like, yeah, oh, good on you for doing something, but, you know, clearly, like, it did nothing, so blah, blah. When I look back now, despite all the crap, I was just one person doing this. If more people had uproared, I have no doubt in my mind that more could have been done about it. And this led me back to, you know, sort of reminded me when Ryan Otley tweeted this. Now, Ryan Otley's tweet, you can check it out on his Twitter. He was at a convention and actually saw someone blatantly rip off, again, very similar to this piece that I was talking about before, one of his Invincible pieces. It was just the exact same picture, mirrored, and then with some really crappy Photoshop effects. And to top it all off, like, this person's booth was the same, with a ton of original art. They just ripped it off Google, redone it in Photoshop, and claimed it as theirs, which is just fucking bullshit. So, I should have mentioned earlier, there's going to be some language, because I get pretty passionate about this sort of stuff. So, I shared that, I had my piece, and while I'm here, I'm going to read to you exactly what I said in my post, for those who don't follow me on Facebook. Okay, I posted a picture of this person's booth, of which Ryan Otley had tweeted about. I supplied a link to this person's Twitter, and here's what I had to say. This was at PR Comic Con on the weekend in the States. This was the same shit that our artist alley is being flooded with here in Australia. This shit has to stop. I called shit out a couple of years ago, and I got burned fucking hard. And no one fucking backed me up. They just whinged behind their tables and it became idle gossip. Now this same person and more are still doing it, and they're raking in thousands at each show, benefiting off of actual artists. This is just one example as brought to my attention by Ryan Otley. Link. Stop being scared to talk up, tell the show organisers, the volunteers, get these frauds out of our cons. Those are the words that I said, and it sparked fair discussion. Some people kind of ignorant to it, most people understanding and realising, some people who have no idea that this is actually a thing that goes on. I even actually had one convention organiser talking about it too, which is something I'll get to as well. And this is such a topic that people know exists and talk about, but no one takes action, and no one actually polices them. They expect other people to police this. So, okay. Now, before I go ahead, I want to talk about the difference between fan art and art theft. In this regard, anyway. Because some of you were like, oh no, but, you know, they did the art themselves, and some of you might think that. It's a common mistake, and a few people have made it. Thinking, oh, you know, it's just their form of fan art, etc., etc. No. Fan art is when someone takes a property that is not theirs, they draw that character, or that comic or whatever in their style. Excuse me, I'm buggering up this picture while I talk about this, so I'm getting distracted here. Okay. So, someone takes a property, let's say Superman, for example. Superman is owned by DC. They draw that character. They are full aware that that character is not theirs, generally. And they put on their own spin on the piece, or they will mix it up in a way that you know it's that character, but you know that it's been changed somehow. And a great example of that is Jake Parker. He does some wonderful fan art. He recently has been doing the Robot series. So for anyone who follows him, he took some Disney characters, say the Little Mermaid, Genie from Aladdin, etc., and turned them into robots, which was absolutely awesome. Really clever idea. and he followed through. People really dug it, and I've seen that he's actually just released a sketchbook for it. And this is a perfect example of good fan art. Someone taking things that they enjoy, that they like, and adapting it to their own style or ideas. Now, art theft, and in particular this, what I've written down, Photoshop art theft, is a whole nother bag. Essentially what these people are doing, and I'm going to assume here that some people are actually naive to think that this is fan art. I don't think that everyone who's doing it knows that they're doing something wrong. I'm understanding to that. And that's why this discussion needs to be brought up, because people need to understand too. So what they're doing, and let's say we're going to go back to the Ryan Otley case, they're going, okay, I really like Invincible, but I want to do my version of Invincible art. So they Google Invincible, and they download that picture that they really liked. Let's say it's the front cover, you know, the example that you can see on Ryan Otley's page. And then what they do is they throw it in Photoshop, or they throw it in GIMP, or whatever other editing software they use, and they add filters and they change it around. This person in particular uses paint splatters for their style, I suppose you could call it. So when you see their finished piece, it's almost identical, but different. Now, not different in a good way, as in they've changed the pose, they've changed the costume, the colours are the same, the pose is the same, the style of the image is different, but it's quite obvious that it's just been ripped off of the original. There's been no real creative input from the beginning of the piece. They've taken someone else's art and copied it, just outright copied it. And this is something that just has to stop. If they did that piece, one, with either the artist's permission to do that, fine, cool. Or two, doing this, acknowledging that it was extremely heavily referenced from this artist and was not making profit of it, but was only using it for research purposes, fine. But when you have an entire booth or an entire Etsy store or an entire Redbubble page filled with this kind of garbage, no. You are in the wrong. You must surely at this point know you're in the wrong. Like, I can only imagine how many people at a booth would get like, oh, this is Ryan Otley's picture, rah, rah, rah. And this is another thing I'll talk about, is people purchasing art, and I'll get to that soon as well. But that's the big difference. Fan art is something you do because you enjoy doing it, and you want to put your spin on someone else's character because you enjoy them so much. For those who sell it, that's fine. Sell it if you want to. I'm not someone who really wants to do that, but have done it in the past, so I definitely cannot judge. If you've put the time and effort into creating that piece, fantastic. Good on you. That's awesome. If you Googled a picture and just redrawn it in Photoshop and added fancy effects, that is art theft. That is not fan art. That is blatant theft, and that shit needs to stop. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I've lost my point here. Okay. Sorry, I think I just got so deep into this that it all just sort of got a bit of overwhelming. Okay. So we've got the differences. Now coming to the conventions, people are selling it regardless of whether they know it's fan art or not, whether they know they're doing the right thing or not. There's going to be a ton of booths. I remember going to Supernova in Melbourne and I saw at least 3. One was not just an artist alley table, but it was an actual booth. And another was an artist alley table, and I'm pretty sure they had about 3 tables. Just to themselves with all this very photoshopped art. Now, I didn't stop enough to look at these tables because I was just grossed out by it. I absolutely hate it now, and it's something that I just don't want to see. So I was actively avoiding those sections, which is, I don't know if I'm the same as some people, but that's not good for a show if people are actively avoiding aisles because you don't like the content of the stall holders. So I can only imagine what these shows are like from what I did when I did a massive stint a couple of years ago, going around to all the Oz Comic Con shows. These people go to the same shows all over Australia, possibly international as well. I don't know. But they must be making bank, because if they're doing this on the regular, paying for all those flights, paying for all those prints, paying for all... Like, some of these people even have staff at their tables. They have staff. They can afford to put staff behind their tables. They must be doing pretty well for themselves off of other people's art. So, as a punter going up to these tables, someone who just loves characters, is not an artist themselves. Now, these people aren't to blame. They don't know. They're just buying, cool pictures of their favourite characters. Because really, that's all these people want when they go to shows. They don't care about the artist. A lot of them don't, okay? I'm not going to say everyone. A lot of people don't. They just care about finding cool art about the characters that they really enjoy. So when they see a booth like this, man, they're overwhelmed, they're excited, they want everything. And these booths have mad deals too. Like, you can get 5 prints for like $50. Oh, what a bargain, man. Like, oh... They don't know that the art's stolen. They're supporting these people who they assume is the artist, or they don't even care who the artist is, they just want the picture. Now, I know some people who have booths where they actually license the art, or they actually get the artist's permission to sell their artwork. That's fine, that's a whole nother story. But when these people are blatantly ripping off other artists and selling it off as their own, it's something that just shouldn't be encouraged, and people who are naive to it don't understand and are fueling these people to continue going. So, here's the discussion. What can be done about it? I've spoken enough about how much I hate it. If you haven't realised how much I hate art theft, and how much other artists hate art theft, then you've clearly missed the point of the first however many minutes this has been going for. The first 25 minutes, I've been talking for 25 minutes about how much I hate art theft. Wow. So, if you can't understand that, then I think you need to either go re-listen to it, or you need to find other... If this is an issue you're interested in, there's plenty of content out there, plenty of people who have been burnt so hard. I can name artists like Martin Abel, Jeffrey Chumber Cruz, who are personal friends of mine, John Somariva, Jim Lee, no doubt, any of the big ones, anyone who's actually made it big in comics and who has, done art for, the big two or whatever, has no doubt been affected by art theft. I know that Erin Hunting, she's a local artist, did a Grumpy Cat piece, and she's had that stolen off her many times, and has even had it licensed by Grumpy Cat and still gets it stolen. It's just a disgusting thing, and this isn't something that's just sort of popped up overnight. This has been happening as long as the internet's been around, and people have been able to just jack photos off the internet. And that's the worst part, is a lot of this puts people off actually posting online, which means a lot of people who actually appreciate art get neglected because other people ruin it for them. So, thinking about what we can do and looking at some of the comments on this post from the other day, from yesterday, sorry. First thing is, people need to speak up. People actually need to stop talking online about it and actually start talking publicly about it. They need to, one, let their views be known, and two, talk to someone who can actually do something about this. And I think that's where one of the biggest problems is people don't actually know who to talk to. The first step you need to do is talk to an event organizer. Now, I know a bloke, and I'm sure he'll be happy for me to say his name, Scott Liston, who actually runs the Australian Movie and Comic Expo here in Melbourne, originally known as Armageddon, for those of you who aren't up with the current conventions in the past year. He was one who actually commented and said, one, they can't police these shows themselves. They cannot, as much as they try, these people are very busy. They're dealing with not only all the attendees at the show, but they're dealing with the guests, other issues. Sadly, the idea of dealing with people who steal art, etc., or do inappropriate art is extremely hard. They do keep their eyes open for this sort of stuff, but they can't police it 100%. His answer, and now I've dealt with Scott for years now. I actually do art for him for a event every year, the Creatures of the Night show for Teen Wolf. We've hung out, we talk a lot, we've emailed. I even helped him, organise certain things for the AMC Expo last year. He said, approach him, come out, actively find him and let him know. He's not going to be a hard person to get a hold of. And this would apply to every single show. Supernova and Oz Comic Con, it's not hard to go to the information booth. Ask them to get in contact with whoever is in charge of the Artist Alley, because even though you don't see them and you don't deal with them on a face-to-face basis, there is someone who's going to be in charge of what's happening in the Artist Alley. And again, this isn't their only task. They don't just hang out in the Artist Alley for an entire weekend. They have other tasks too. And can you imagine dealing with 200 artists and market stalls and authors and things like that? It's going to be tough. So they can't 100% police it themselves. Now, let's take this example of the Jim Lee piece. Now, if you could prove that not only was this person an art thief, but you could prove the artwork that they've stolen, which, again, if they've Googled it, you can Google it on your phone, because we live in a world where it's not hard to get this kind of information. Approach someone, tell them what's going on, and get them to do something about it. And don't just do it yourself. Let other people know, and tell other people to do the same thing. Because power in numbers. It's said over and over again, and it's something that really, I think, people forget. The more people do this, the more chances we have of getting rid of it. And now here's another problem, as I'm going to sidestep here. Talking to some of these artists yesterday in the conversation, they were saying that they talk to a lot of up-and-coming artists at the shows. Now, these up-and-coming artists all think, okay, not all, the majority, because I'm sure there's some out there who, don't think this. When they think, oh, I really want to be in the Artist Alley, I really want to do this, I want to be an artist, so this is what it must mean to be an artist. And when they say that, they're saying that drawing fan art and selling it is the way to get noticed and to make money and become a great artist, which is bullcrap. Yeah, it's how I started, because I was naive too, and I did the same thing because that's what people were doing. Now, someone wisened up and realized, shit, I could just Photoshop a bunch of pictures and do this myself without near to no artistic talent and profit off of it. So, not only is this us stopping the current wave of art thieves, but we also need to try and prevent the future of artists from doing the same thing. Because allowing people to get away with this isn't only allowing, you know, those who are doing it already to, you know, profit off of it and get away with, you know, crime, because it is, it's fucking illegal. We're also potentially encouraging other young artists to do the same thing. They might not do it in the exact same way, but they might pick up a comic book or an art book and go, that's really cool, I want to draw that, and then they might trace it, and then they might go, this is really cool, I think this will sell as a print, and I drew it myself because I did it with a pencil over the top of someone else's art, so it's not copying, it's not art theft because I traced it. No, that's art theft, and you fucking can't get away with that shit. And it's creating that naivety, and unfortunately, I'm sure there's already people out there who think this is an okay thing to do. So, if we can target it now, we can prevent this sort of shit from happening. That's what I think anyway. So yeah, talk to someone. Talk to an event organizer about it. Tell them what's going on. Tell an attendee, not an attendee, tell the volunteers. You never know, you might actually get a really good volunteer who actually cares about it and goes, oh shit, you know what, I didn't even realise, I'm going to go tell the boss now. They might not. I know some people have had bad experiences with the volunteers because, let's face it, they're volunteers, they don't work there, they get taught what to do in one day, and they just sort of have to wing it. So, just because they don't exactly know what they're doing, they're having a pretty fucking rough time trying to, you know, run a convention that, one, isn't theirs. They haven't been there from the word go. They've been thrown in the deep end, and you've just thrown this massive complication into their weekend that they didn't know or think they'd have to deal with. So, if they just fob it off, don't crack the shits, because you'd probably do the same if you were in their situation, okay? So, if anything, commend the volunteers, please. I've met a few volunteers who I'm friends with now, and, they do a hard job. You think sitting there drawing pictures all day is hard? Man, be a volunteer. Screw that. Anyway, so talk to a volunteer, talk to an organizer, and from what I said before, actually, tell an attendee, if you are talking to someone passionately who loves art and they're an art collector, let them know. You know what? They might have fucking ties. I know art collectors who know the artists, they are friends with them, or, you know, have met them at shows and keep in contact with them for commissions and stuff. They might even be able to contact the artist and say, hey, this dude in Australia is stealing your art, man. Here's a photo, tweet about it. And sometimes that's all it takes. For one artist to post about it, send a cease and desist, the end. You don't know what connections people have, so take advantage of that. So, tell someone, don't be afraid, and if you actually get to an actual organizer, and you don't even have to tell the organizers your name, you can just walk up to them and say, hey, I've got a booth here, I've noticed that someone is stealing art, or is selling stolen art, and I want you to do something about it. Here's the booth they're at. If you're worried that you're going to have to deal with a similar story like me, where I got attacked and burned, be anonymous. I thought I was anonymous, but this is a whole different story, so don't stress. Do the right thing. And you know what? At the end of the day, as much as I hated what happened to me after that, I still know that I did the right thing. And that's the most important thing. Regardless of it all, I actually tried, and I'm happy because of that. Yeah. So, don't be afraid. You don't have to name your name. Just let someone know, and the more people do it, the bigger the chances. And once these people actually get kicked out, generally the shows are going to blacklist them. I've known some who have actually been blacklisted, and they rename themselves and get another table. All you got to do is say, hey, that's that dude, they've just renamed themselves. The end. Done and dusted, man. Like, it's that simple. So, speak up. Don't be afraid to dob someone in. I'm sure when you're all growing up and you're in primary school and you told someone off for doing something naughty and everyone called you a dibber dobber, that's not the real world, man. This isn't primary school anymore. This shit affects all of us as artists, and is, it's going to affect the industry negatively. Because if you like doing fan art and this stuff continues on, God knows what could happen to fan art. Maybe you might not ever be able to sell fan art again at shows, just in case this sort of crap happens again, or keeps happening. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who don't want to see that happen. So stand up for art theft and don't let these people get away with it. Okay? Now, there's something else I wanted to talk about here. You know what? I think I'm actually done. Yeah. I think I've said my piece. I've talked passionately about what I believe in this regards, and I would love to know what you guys think. I know there's a lot of people out there who think art theft is disgusting. I know there's people out there who didn't know it was a thing. One of my friends actually commented and just had no idea, and checked out the Twitter that I posted and was absolutely astounded at what they saw. So if you're still confused on the topic, I don't know, say something in the comments. Talk about it. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of artists here who are going to be, happy to explain it to you. If you think the opposite, if you don't think, photoshopping an image is art theft, let us know. Give us your reasons why. Because I'd actually like to hear about this, from someone's perspective. Actually, yeah, I just remembered what else I wanted to say too. Obviously, this goes beyond conventions. It's one of the biggest places where it's a huge issue, but it's not the only. And online is massive. Obviously, it's going to be massive. Some people just straight up Google stuff and sell it on t-shirts on Redbubble. These are the kinds of people that you can report. Some websites don't make it easy. I know that Redbubble makes it hard. You've got places like TeePublic, TeeFury, all that sort of junk. But you can still email the website and provide them with links and say, I think this is art theft. Here's my example. Maybe they'll do something about it. Maybe they won't. But if you don't try, then I don't believe that you should be allowed to complain. It's that simple. It's that simple. If you're not going to do anything about it, don't complain that people are getting away with it. Okay? And it is. It's an easy solution. You might not always get the response you're after, but at least you did something about it. And that's more than most people are doing. So you can feel happy. You can feel good about that. You can feel good knowing that you tried. Okay? You're actively supporting your art community. And if you're an artist, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping everyone involved too. This isn't a one-sided battle. This isn't you versus the world. This is us versus them, sadly. Okay? And if you have to, name and shame them, because don't be afraid to name and shame them. Like, when I posted that thing on Facebook, like, I don't care. I know they're doing a bad thing. So I'm not afraid to say, hey, these cats are doing something wrong. Let's let them know we're aware, and shun them. And let's report their Etsy, and let's do this and let's do that. Because who knows whose attention you might grab. You might find there's plenty of people out there on the internet who have hella influence with other people. Like I know a few big artists who, if they were to post about it, there would be huge uproar. I know a lot of people stay out of it because, well, it's a shitstorm. It really is. There's a part of me, like, while I'm talking about this, saying, like, man, should you be posting this? I mean, like, this is some solid shit. But, I mean, I don't see how I'm going to get in trouble for it. How can you get in trouble for defending something that's illegal and wrong? I haven't named names, so I hope that I'm in the clear. But yeah, don't be afraid. Talk about this issue, and talk. This doesn't just go for just art theft. This goes for anything in the art world. If you see someone doing something wrong, call them out on it. I've called people out before and said, "Hey, man, like, I've seen people, regardless of whether they're making money off it, copy another person's art and claim themselves to be the artist." And I'm like, dude, this isn't your art. I know it's not your art. You copied this person, and that shit's not cool. And the only reason I called them out on it was because on their picture, they had a little picture saying, drawn by themselves. I'm like, you didn't draw that. You didn't design this picture. This artist designed this picture, and you copied it. I'm like, that person needs the credit, not you. I don't care that you drew it. Sure, I've copied people's stuff in my sketchbooks because that's just the way that I like to learn, but that stuff never sees the light of day. And if it did, there's no way in hell I wouldn't credit the original artist. And yeah, there's so many forms of art theft that it's just disgusting. We got to stop it, and we're the only ones who are going to, because like I said before, the people who are purchasing this art are naive. They don't understand. Some of them don't even know that it's art theft. And if we don't tell them, then it's just going to continue on. And in years' time, when this is just the norm, and conventions at this point probably have no power to do anything, who do we complain to then? We can't complain to all the other artists because none of us did anything. If it's just like anything, if we don't do anything and it just gets worse and worse to the point where we can't do anything at all, then we only have ourselves to blame because we didn't speak up. Alright, I think I've ranted enough. I don't know if this is the direction that I wanted this podcast to go. I'm more impressed with myself that I spoke to myself for an hour. But I drew this pretty cool mouse wizard guy thing. I'm hoping the next video casts are going to be much more lighter in content, but I don't know. I definitely want to have some people on the show. And I think I'm just going to talk about art stuff, and these are my opinions, and this is the internet, so I'm going to use that and voice them. If you disagree with them, cool. Put them in the comments. If you agree with them, cool. Post them in the comments. Let's discuss this. Let's actually talk about this and, get people understanding that this is a thing and this is a wrong thing and it needs to be stopped and we can all do something about it. This isn't just about you or me. This is about us. Okay? This is about us banding together as artists and not letting people get away with stealing our art. Because I thought I was done. Okay. Here's the point. Now, these people are stealing Jim Lee's art. And you go, oh yeah, but he's Jim Lee. He makes heaps of money. It doesn't matter. Who cares? It's still art theft. What if it happened to you? What if your art got stolen and someone was making thousands of dollars off of it? And you're probably saying, oh yeah, but no one's going to steal my art and make thousands off of it. Stop thinking that. Don't be this defeatist idiot thinking, oh, it'll never happen to me. You don't know. I never thought credit card fraud would happen to me, but it did. I lost money and it sucked. That's a completely different topic, but it happens. You think, oh, I'm never going to get hit by lightning because it's like a 1 in a million chance. That's not the exact figures, but you know, it's a huge chance of it happening. People still get struck by lightning. You don't know. Just imagine you draw this absolutely fantastic Batman, and then someone steals it and makes thousands off of it, and then you discover, what are you going to do? Who are you going to complain to when you never made an effort to actually, you know, prevent this from happening in the first place? And I think that's going to be the biggest issue, is that I don't think we're ever going to really stop this from happening. If people are going to do it, if people want to do it or think about doing it, they're going to do it. But if we can attack them at the source and really push them under the thumb and make them think twice, hopefully we can minimize this a lot. That's probably the hardest part, is knowing that this is going to be an ongoing battle for a long time, if not forever. But if we can show these people that we're putting up for it, and that we'll do whatever we can to stop them, then let's do that. Like, come on. Let's band together and let's stop these idiots. Talk to people at conventions. Talk to the organisers. You can email them. If you know someone's going to be there, just email them beforehand. Set up an anonymous email. Who cares? Just let someone know that this shit's happening. Alright? I'm off. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it this long, I do appreciate it. I'm signing off. My name's been Chris. Please like and comment on the video if you enjoyed it, or if you have something to say about it. I definitely want to take this in a route where I can answer some questions and actually talk about things you guys want to hear what I have to say about, or you want to discuss things. I can definitely talk about it in the next episode, so please leave your questions in the comments as well. If you're interested in being in the show and just talking about stuff, or if you've got a topic that you're passionate about and you want to be in this, hit me up and we'll organise something. It'd be cool to just interview artists from all over the place and talk about this stuff together, because everyone's got different opinions, and a discussion is just not one person. Please understand that before you sort of go crazy and be like, oh, but this and that, and, you know, I don't agree with that and I don't agree with this. I totally understand and I agree with you. If you don't agree with what I have to say, that's absolutely fine. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. This is a free world and we're all entitled to our own opinions, and it would suck if we didn't. So thank you guys for listening to the very first Inksplatter Vidcast. This is Chris, and this is me signing off. Ciao.